Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. We are less than 3 hours away from the Bitcoin halving. This is the Bitcoin halving day, so shout out to everybody that has made it this far. This is one of the biggest catalysts for Bitcoin's price expansion, and I strongly believe that anybody that's been timing their investments over the last couple years are going to be setting themselves up to make a financial fortune. This is the time where you really want to have a fine-tuned strategy for how you're going to go about this next cycle, which is why I wanted to talk to you guys about how I'm personally going to be playing this cycle, what I'm watching for on the short term, what I'm watching for on the midterm, and what I'm also watching for the long term. We're going to go over a lot of cool things about the halving. We're going to take a look at prior cycles, and we're also going to be taking a look at some of the altcoins and how they reacted in the same exact time that Bitcoin's at today. Are we about to make a lot of money over the next couple months, or is it going to be a slow grind overall? I'm going to be covering all of these things today, so make sure that you guys stay to the end. You're not going to want to miss out on any of this exciting information and knowledge, because I promise, guys, this is going to be a video that really fine-tunes everything and puts my strategy into a perspective that everybody's going to be able to understand. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Make sure that you guys click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos like the one provided for you here. And remember, guys, I also have an amazing Discord community with over 6,000 members. This is growing so fast, and I'd love to have as many people a part of my community joining in here, because we just want to get as many people in here congregating as we possibly can. With 6,000 people, you guys are going to be able to talk to a number of different people inside of the space, and it's a really good opportunity for you new guys that just want to go learn and study some extra content. In my Discord server, I also offer some of my more exclusive content like the video course and signals. Now, the video course is an excellent resource for anybody that's just wanting to learn how to trade in these markets by themselves. They want to learn all of the technical skills required to actually make their own profits and learn how to invest in this market with consistency. The video course is definitely going to be your go-to, as it compiles all of my resources that I use to profit, all of my strategies, as well as any of the other information that I wanted to share inside of that. It's going to be all compiled inside of 20 educational videos that are going to really teach you guys all of my perfect strategies to making all of this money that I do. Now, the signals are an excellent resource for somebody that just wants to copy my portfolio. Maybe that you're just here and want to make some profits consistently over the next bull run, or maybe you want to follow some of my more shorter term trades that I take. You guys are definitely going to want to check out the signals. The signals are a way for you guys to actually just follow my portfolio. I offer portfolio management through that, where you guys can copy my portfolio, ask questions directly to me, and then I'm going to be able to help you with whatever you need help with, because it's very important to have somewhat of a mentor going through this cycle, and that's what I've created here inside of my Discord. So all you guys got to do to join below is click in the description of this video, and there you're going to find the invitation link. All you got to do is click on that. You're going to get access to my Discord. Once you have access, shoot me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Today is the Bitcoin halving, which means today I'm also going to be giving away a free copy of my video course. Remember, guys, this is 20 educational videos. All you have to do to win is to comment below, tell me a little bit about yourself, tell me why you want this video course, and then I will go and pick the winner later tonight after we actually have the Bitcoin halving. This is a really good way for you guys to actually join in on something, get rewarded a really good course that has a lot of quality content. So make sure that you guys enter to win by commenting below, and I will pick one of you guys later tomorrow. Alright, guys, with all that being said, we got a lot of really cool charts to cover today, so let's quit messing around and jump right in the video today. Alrighty, guys, here we are taking a look at the Bitcoin block reward halving countdown once again. Guys, we are less than 3.5 hours away from having the third halving that has ever taken place. Both of the last two has been a major catalyst for price expansion inside of Bitcoin, and it's going to make everybody that's investing right now a lot of money in the process. Realistically, all of the halvings have kind of lined up and been very correlated, and this halving looks no different. And in fact, this halving was actually an even better opportunity to get in and start buying because of all of this pandemic situation that we had. This is going to be where we make the most amount of money, and it's important that we're timing our investments right now so that we can do so. So let's jump right into the Bitcoin chart today, guys, so we can talk about some things. We're going to be taking a look at the shorter time frames as well as the bigger time frames. I'm going to be taking a look at the entire cycle as well, so that we can get a full round understanding of what we can expect moving forward, because there's a lot of cool things to talk about today. So briefly, what I want to touch up on is today we're going to be taking a look at the weekly time frame. Bitcoin's currently sitting at about $8,884. and we can see that we're just hugging below this descending resistance. Now, we have the descending resistance of the symmetrical triangle pattern that has been forming since the top of the cycle in 2018. And we also have this red descending resistance, which is just the short-term correction that we saw from the retrace at 14K. And so both of these resistance lines actually coexist at roughly the same point, but we're getting held beneath both of those. We did temporarily attempt to break out of this red one, and we ended up rejecting off of the symmetrical triangle, and then we ended up falling back below the red one as well. And so overall, right now we're just consolidating. At this point, it can go either way. We could see another dip a little bit lower that would take us closer to about 7,400 and even down to 6,400. That's going to be the real two lowest points that I expect. You know, I was talking about the potential that we could drop back below 64 and even down to like 58. But that was after the fact that was before we actually impulse so high. So that's off the tables for now. Until we actually get a stronger impulse on the downside, that's going to be my least likely scenario, although it is still possible. We just have to pay attention. Now, with us consolidating here, if this next candle that we're seeing here closes in a red candle, at that point, then I would expect a shorter term correction. But as long as we can kind of consolidate here and show these dojis with indecision, it really can start impulsing once again. And that's necessarily the point that I'm going to lean towards right now. And so with us right now, hugging so close to this descending resistance, oftentimes we can throw up some of these indecision wicks, and then it's just going to lead to another impulse. And we saw that down in here. This candle right here was an example of indecision, but we kept getting green candles from there. This was another example, another green candle, another green candle. And so this one can still show consolidation on the upside. We just have to watch and see. But with us being so close to this descending resistance, I think it's more likely than not that we're going to actually get that attempt to break out of that. And I think that it's more likely that we're going to continue on in this impulse because, in my opinion, this was the last sell-off that we're going to see before we do start breaking out and going much higher in this cycle. And so let's go through here and take a look at a shorter time frame. Let's take a look at the daily. We can see that we are being held beneath resistance right now. This was a pretty nasty rejection, but it really does remind me a lot of really some consolidation that we saw during the initial breakout of December of 2018 and into 2019. And if we come over here, guys, let's take a look at a chart that I made a while back that, for me, this is what I was expecting to happen inside of Bitcoin. And my plan really hasn't changed. And in fact, it's actually followed this even more closely than I imagined. So here we are taking a look at this. The chart on the black is Bitcoin. The chart on the bottom is Tezos. And basically what I noticed was that Tezos was leading Bitcoin. It was doing the same consolidation, but Tezos actually led it. Now, at the time I made the chart, Bitcoin was only here at about $7,400. And now we're all the way back up at, $8,800. And so with Tezos, what I noticed was after the capitulation, so this is the way the cycle works. We went through the cycle lows. This was the first capitulation, made our first impulse. We retraced, we had a fake breakout, a bull trap, and then we sold for our second capitulation. This was our first short-term higher low in that trend. And then what happened with Tezos was we broke out and went for a massive impulse. And what I noticed was that Bitcoin actually looked very similar to this. And in fact, Bitcoin did make another impulse upwards higher. We went up a little bit higher than this chart shows, but nonetheless, we started selling off. And so in my opinion, we're somewhere right around here where we got our impulse, we're selling off right at the halving, and we're just going to kind of make this same consolidation. Keep in mind, guys, it doesn't have to round out this long. It could be a short little wick like we're seeing, and then we could just start bouncing back up on the upside. That's something to consider and something I am personally watching for. But nonetheless, I was still expecting another impulse to take us back upwards of 14K. And that's really what we're seeing today inside of Bitcoin right now. We got that impulse that I was watching for. It went a little bit higher than I was expecting, nonetheless. But now we're selling off. And so for here, we could consolidate. This could be the bottom before we go up again. Or, maybe we get rejected here and then we have to fall back down to about $7,400 and then go up higher. That's kind of what I'm going to be watching out for. And regardless, it would follow this same cycle pretty closely. The only real difference that I have here is the fact that, what I could see this consolidation being, and let's actually remove some drawing tools here. What I could see this consolidation being would be very similar to what we saw right about here. The consolidation that we saw right here looks pretty similar, in my opinion, to what we could see right here forming. And this would lead to something like this. Now, I don't think it would go... There's a couple scenarios that I'd watch for. Like I said, I'm watching for the retest of 14K. And so we would see something along the lines of, this, where we kind of have this short-term correction back down. consolidate here right below resistance before we break out of that and head upwards of 14K. And this is really what I've been watching for practically this whole correction, and even shortly into this impulse. That's what my main count that I was watching for. I expected that we'd have this short-term correction. It is possible that we could go a little bit lower because we did impulse higher. It is possible there could be more volatility, but nonetheless, guys, I just think that this is a short-term correction before we do see more upside, and that's why there's not a big reason to get shaken out. And so that's what I'm going to be watching for, and that's what I'm going to be sticking towards, because that was my primary count from clear back down in here. Nothing has really changed for me as far as that goes, and so we'll just have to watch and see kind of what follows from there. Now, this is what takes me to the next part of the video. What I want to talk about here was the halvings. I wanted to compare them. I want to take a look at the big market cycle that we're seeing currently, and I just want to talk about my thoughts and perspective. We're also going to be diving into the 4-year cycle theory, which is, in my opinion, the theory that I'm subscribing to. This is the one that I believe first and foremost because it's following it very closely, and you can't argue with how identical it is thus far. And so let's go through here and talk about some things. Now, really, guys, this is our third halving, and like I said, we're 3 hours away from having this halving, and this is going to be a really big catalyst. And what I love about this one specifically is the fact that so many people are shaken out. So many people are sitting here, you know, they're questioning and they're doubting this halving, and they don't think that it's going to be a major catalyst for Bitcoin's price discovery because of all of this pandemic that is happening. They are saying, and they're saying to themselves, and they're repeating these same belief systems, well, nobody has any money, nobody's going to be able to buy Bitcoin, you know, the world is in shambles, everything's falling apart, there's no way we'll have another bull run. And you know, I see these same people making these arguments. They're the same people saying the same stuff back down in here. Oh, you know, Mt. Gox hacked Bitcoin. All of the Bitcoins are gone forever. Everybody loses faith in Bitcoin because it doesn't have any institutional adoption. It's dead. And then Bitcoin went for a massive parabolic move. And this is the same thing that's going to happen again. People are going to get shaken out once more, and you can't fault them for that. They just have a lack of education and knowledge when it comes to trading and investing in these markets. For me personally, I'm 100% all in on these markets. I have been since the new year. I haven't been lying about any of that. And you know, with me being 100% in with all of my net worth, with this coronavirus crash, I didn't sell anything. I bought more. And that's the difference between a profitable trader and an unprofitable trader. I don't have to be the biggest genius here. I don't have to know exactly how to use each indicator. I don't have to be perfect with my trading plan. But what I do know is I have a trading plan. My trading plan lacks emotion. That's the biggest thing. I don't have any emotion when it comes to entering my trades. I'm investing, I'm dollar cost averaging into those positions, and the rest doesn't even matter for me. And that's how I profit, and that's what I'm teaching to you guys today. Now, if we look over here, guys, we're going to see that we saw roughly the same sort of consolidation between both of the last two halvings. We get the bear market, we make the first little short-term bull trend, we make a couple higher highs, and then after the halving is really where we have the true, genuine parabolic rise. This is the thing that everybody here investing is wanting to see. And this is what happens after the halving, right? We can see that the same thing happened in 2016. The only real difference was we had a short-term correction after that halving, whereas the first one impulsed. And so, you know, right now we're having a big argument where, are we going to sell off after the halving? Are we going to impulse after the halving? Well, we did have a sell-off right before the halving, and we're still correcting right now. But we only have 2 price points and data points to really go off of. And so you know, there's really not a high probability of chance of it going either way or making the decision that it's going to go either way. We're just going to have to watch and see because we only have 2 data points, you know, to dictate what's going to happen here. And so I'm not really worried about that so much. What I'm focused on is the long-term prospect, which after the halving historically has provided the biggest bulk of that impulse. The biggest part of the parabolic run happens after this halving. And guys, we're 3 hours away from number 3. The threes are up, throwing strong numbers today, and this is going to be a huge catalyst, guys. I cannot explain this enough. What we are about to see is life-changing wealth. And you know, the consolidation pattern that we're seeing inside of Bitcoin makes me even more confident, because what we're seeing, guys, is a symmetrical triangle. This is a coiling chart pattern, meaning pressure is building and we're coming to a finer and finer point. We can see that. If I draw this kind of in here, we can see that we're just coiling tighter and tighter. And who knows, maybe we have to drop back down to 64 before we break out. Or, you know, maybe we just end up breaking out right here and then going up in the cycle. We're going to have to watch and see, but nonetheless, this is a contracting pattern. This is a contracting chart pattern. The way I like to look at it is, imagine if you took a recess ball, a big rubber recess ball, and you were in a swimming pool and you tried to push that recess ball underneath the water. You're going to be able to for an extended period. You're going to be able to for a period of time, but eventually that pressure builds and it builds and it builds until finally you can't push that ball any lower and the pressure explodes and expands on the upside. And this is exactly what we're going to see here inside of this chart pattern today. We're just contracting and getting tighter and tighter squoze inside of this pattern before we break out and we have an immense impulse on the upside. And so, maybe we have a short-term correction like we saw at the first halving. Maybe we just impulse like we saw at the first. Maybe we see a breakout and a strong impulse like we did at the first halving. Maybe we see a short-term correction like we did in the second halving. I don't know, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter. I'm not worried about the short-term action after the halving. I'm worried about what happens a year from now or a year and a half from now. Now, let's talk about some things here. Let's talk about the 4-year cycles. Now, this is a really cool theory that was actually taught to me by Bob Lucas. Bob Lucas is an excellent long-term analyst and trader, an investor inside of markets. I highly recommend that you guys check out his YouTube channel. Check him out, Bob Lucas. Bob Lucas is an exceptional analyst, and he's very, very open-minded and very emotionally intelligent. He doesn't invest based off of his emotions, and he's very logical in the way he thinks. Everything is very long-term, and he actually subscribes to these 4-year cycle theories. Now, the way a 4-year cycle works, and we're only going to start from this cycle to this cycle because this cycle was a little bit shorter and there was a lot less money. There really wasn't enough liquidity in the market until about this point here because this was pre-billion-dollar market caps. And so we're going to subscribe to the 4-year theory, and I'm going to share with you guys how it works. Now, the way it works is you go from cycle low to cycle low equals 4 years time. And that's what you want to see in each 4-year cycle. And so we're not going from peak high to peak high. We're going from peak low to peak low. And that completes a 4-year cycle. And so the way it works is you go from the low. So in this case, the low of the 2015 bear market took us to roughly the new year of 2015. It took place at about January the 12th. And then that's where we got our cycle low. Now, the way the 4-year cycle works is theoretically the next low and the completion of that 4-year cycle will come 4 years after the first cycle low. So 4 years after 2015, it takes us to 2019. So if this was the 12th of January 2015, let's go to the 12th or approximately close to that same time frame in 2019. And you guys are going to find out that, here we have the 7th, but it's still the same. 4 years later takes us to almost the exact low of the 2019 consolidation. This was the bottom of the bear market inside of Bitcoin, and we've yet to break and make a lower low below that point. And so this is why these 4-year cycle theories are so amazing, is because, they're identical. They really do follow this analysis, and we can see that right here. Let's remove this one real quick. This was our first cycle low. This was the low of the bear market in 2015. And so this is where our first data point is. Now, 4 years after that point takes us to January of 2019, which is once again almost the exact low of that cycle. And so this is why I'm subscribing to this theory, is because I strongly believe that it's going to be playing out. And not only do I believe it's going to be playing out, but it lines up identical with my exact strategy that I'd already made for taking profits. And so I'm going to share that with you guys right here. Now, let's go into the future. Let's project, and let's see how we can analyze what's happening right now, and let's see how these cycles are going to play out, and let's kind of draw from here. Now, 2019, if this is the cycle low, which I believe it is, if this is the cycle low, then the bottom or the completion of this cycle, because we just started this cycle in 2019. We've only been here for about a year. A little over a year we've been consolidating in this new trend. And so with that being said, the completion of this cycle will take 4 years after this number right here. So January of 2019. 4 years after that takes us to 2023. So 2023 right here. January 2023. This should be the cycle low. Somewhere right here. I don't know how high it's going to be, but maybe $30,000. The cycle low. this is where we're going to find the cycle low, is 2023. This is going to be the low, just like this, just like this. And that'll complete our 4-year cycle. Now, obviously, we want to take profits not at the cycle low. We want to be taking it at the peak. And so let's kind of coexist in here. So let's kind of look in here and see how we can make an assumption to where the all-time high is going to be. Now, the way it worked in Bitcoin was we had it about the new year. About the new year was our cycle high. So let's label this one and make this green. So cycle high. And so this came about 3 years after our capitulation. So 2019 would take us to 2022, which would be about right here. Now, in my opinion, this would follow our strategy perfectly because the bear markets themselves last about a year duration. From high to low was about 1 year because we get the start of 2018 right here, the start of 2019 right here. So from high to low, we get a 1-year bear market, which would follow this one very nicely. So if this pattern continues, from cycle low to cycle high should be 3 years, which will take us to the start of 2022. I've already told you guys how I plan to take profits at the end of 2021, which is much safer for me not to try and get too greedy and say it'll peak at exactly this date, because I don't know. I'm going to be scaling out over the course of about a 4-month period of time that'll be pretty closely to the end of 2021. So the way that I'm personally watching this is I'm expecting that we're going to get a nice parabolic run, and once we break out of all those all-time highs, at that point is when we're going to get, the big parabolic move from that point. And, from that point, we'll start the bear market retrace back down, and who knows how crazy it's going to get, but eventually we'll come to a support floor, and that will be the bottom of that trend. And in my opinion, it'll look pretty similar to the last few cycles that we've had. And then at that point, we will experience our cycle low, which, 30,000, somewhere approximately around there, 50,000. I don't know exactly where it's going to look. My target for this next cycle is actually going to be 200K. And so we'll just have to kind of watch and see. But with us creating this expansive chart pattern, this contracting chart pattern, I believe that the breakout that's going to follow is going to be pretty parabolic, and it's going to happen really fast. And so that's something to keep a note of. We don't have to grind slowly like we're seeing right here. But nonetheless, I'm just kind of showing you guys how it's going to look with these time frames, because I believe the time frames is all that matters. It's less about price targets for me and more about the time frames in which I can chart and analyze. And, because of this, we're seeing a very correlated cycle between the 4-year cycle theory. And that's why I believe that this is going to follow this same theory. And this is how I'm going to be trading and structuring my trading plan. Now, before we wrap up this video, let's talk about some things with the Bitcoin dominance here. With the Bitcoin dominance, we are breaking out right now. This was our descending resistance, and we're breaking out from that. And so, in my opinion, this looks a little bit more like a potential of a bull flag, because we did correct, and we ended up retesting this right here. And so this is support. Previous resistance, this was previous resistance, is now acting as support, and we're now breaking out from this bull flag. And so this is meaning, what I believe is happening right now is Bitcoin is going to really start outperforming altcoins. And that is something to be wary of, and that's why personally I'm not only holding Bitcoin, but I'm only investing in Bitcoin right now. This dip, I've only bought Bitcoin. I'm not trying to average into altcoin positions because I believe Bitcoin is going to be outperforming those. And so what I'm watching for right now is a breakout, and then we'll head upwards of 79% dominance before we start to actually sell off from there. And so my next target for Bitcoin dominance is 79%. That coexists perfectly with 29% altcoin dominance, which is the next equivalent of the Fibonacci equation that I've been sharing with you guys. And so this is something to pay attention for. For me, I'm only buying Bitcoin right now because I believe Bitcoin's going to outperform. I can then take my Bitcoin and then buy altcoins with it. And so it doesn't really matter for me. What I see right now is strength in Bitcoin, and I'm going to play the market as follows. So it's just something to pay attention for. Now, quickly, before we wrap up this video, what I want to talk about inside of Bitcoin, and I really wanted to go back to the last cycle here, because I believe that this is a really important thing to talk about, is really, when are the altcoins going to break out, right? When are the altcoins going to moon? Because everybody wants to make money off the altcoins. I'm right there with you. I do too. Bitcoin makes me a decent amount of money, but altcoins make me life-changing wealth. And so I feel you guys. Now, the all-time high of Bitcoin was right here. It was at this wick that we retested it. And we broke out from it right here. Now, altcoins themselves did not moon. Well, let's look at XRP. So XRP broke out and started its major uptrend at about mid-March of 2017. Now, mid-March of 2017 takes us to about right here. So it would have been this move right here in which the altcoins broke out and started supermooning. Now, in that move, Bitcoin went up and went very parabolic, but the altcoins all outperformed. However, Bitcoin outperformed altcoins from the cycle low until we hit that all-time high mark. The second that we hit the all-time high mark was the second the altcoins started mooning. Other altcoins like Monero and like Ethereum actually followed Bitcoin and were impulsing the whole way up. They were making higher highs with Bitcoin. Now, that same period of time, 2017, so mid-March is about right here. And so XMR didn't start breaking out. So when XRP started breaking out, XMR had already pretty much completed its entire bull cycle. And it was just finishing the tail end of that cycle, whereas XRP kind of just pumped all at once, and it didn't start until mid-March. It had the long, slow, drawn-out accumulation, whereas Monero itself dropped, made higher highs, and then it was starting its uptrend. It was already breaking out of all-time highs by the time some of the other alts followed. But nonetheless, guys, the strongest of altcoins are going to be showing strength right now. That's why I've been buying Chainlink. Chainlink's been breaking out of its all-time high, and it's been front-running Bitcoin. And so for that, I invested in it. I don't know how high it's going to go. It's a very speculative environment. But nonetheless, I see strength in the market, and so I invested in it for that strength. Just something to pay attention for. Other altcoins did the same thing. Ethereum made its first impulse with Bitcoin. XMR did the exact same thing. And so by finding the best performing altcoins, you can invest in some of the laggards. You can invest in the ones that are leading the market. And then you're just going to be profiting the whole way up. And so that's something to pay attention for. But nonetheless, I don't expect this cycle to behave any differently. And in fact, I personally believe that we're going to have to either break outside of this consolidation pattern before altcoins are going to move, or we're going to have to start getting closer to that all-time high mark. And so honestly, guys, I would not be the least bit surprised if what happens in the Bitcoin dominance is where Bitcoin actually starts its impulse upwards of the all-time high mark. Obviously, we might get some short-term corrections before we get there, but nonetheless, I think that we're starting that next impulse to that all-time high mark. And with this being a symmetrical triangle, this is the way in which you want to play it. We've been contracting in this triangle. When we break out, the target is the all-time high, or at least the top of the resistance, which in our case, inside of Bitcoin, is the all-time high. This is a contracting symmetrical triangle, and when it breaks out, it's going to create a big impulse, and it's going to take us to that all-time high mark, which is why I believe with what we're seeing inside of the Bitcoin dominance, Bitcoin's going to break out to its all-time high. Bitcoin dominance is going to go up like this. And then when Bitcoin hits the all-time high, I think it'll have either a short-term correction at the all-time high, or it'll short-term break outside of it. And then at that point is where the altcoins are going to start breaking out, which is why it's very important that we're timing our plan and trading the plan all the way through. I personally am going to be holding more Bitcoin because I think Bitcoin's about to rip up to that all-time high mark. I know I just shared with you that chart to go to 14K, and that's still what I'm expecting. But nonetheless, overall, I'm watching for the break to 14K before Bitcoin dominance is done. That's what I'm going to think. That's what I personally believe is going to happen because nonetheless, altcoins can still uptrend with Bitcoin against the dollar, which they will, but Bitcoin's going to significantly surpass them as far as percent return goes. And so that's just something to pay attention for. To the all-time high from where we're at, it's about 130%. So you'd be looking at altcoins to do about 60%, 70, 80%. Some of them are going to follow Bitcoin and outperform it. But nonetheless, I don't think that we're going to get genuine alt season until we hit this all-time high mark, just like we did in the last cycle in Bitcoin, way back in here. And so you guys just got to understand that altcoins didn't start breaking out until we actually hit that all-time high mark. I don't foresee that this cycle is going to be a whole lot different, and it's most likely not. We're most likely not getting alt season until we actually break out from that. So just something to pay attention for. Always remember to hold Bitcoin. Always have exposure to Bitcoin. If you don't hold any, it's not a bad time to be leveraging into some Bitcoin. If you don't hold any and you're over leveraged into altcoins, just accept that this is part of the game. At this point, because we are so close to this breakout, it doesn't matter quite as much because altcoins will still outperform Bitcoin significantly by trying to FOMO into Bitcoin during its last move instead of buying it any point throughout this correction. At this point, you're kind of just lagging behind, and you don't really want to do that because the risk to reward isn't so great. I averaged into this entire dip and got an average entry price of $72.50, and so for me, I'm sitting at a good enough price that I'm going to be happy. If Bitcoin dips down below that point, if we get another leg lower, do whatever you guys can to buy some more Bitcoin. That's what I'm going to be doing. Remember, it's not financial advice or anything. This is just what I'm personally going to be doing. So make sure that you guys are staying aware of all the market changes, and make sure that you guys are watching the videos, sharing the videos, join the Discord server. If you want access to my more exclusive content, just DM me and I'll get back to you. But with that being said, guys, remember I'm also giving away a video course. That'll be given away tomorrow. So comment below if you guys want to actually win that, and I'll be picking a winner, and I'll let you guys know tomorrow. But with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. With all that being said, I'll catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.